It's so cringy. I feel like she's always trying to show us how she tries to seduce him, and it just, look at his face. He looks so uncomfortable. It's obvious Gypsy loves the camera, she loves the attention, whether it's good or bad. But Ken, I think maybe the money just is what's keeping him on camera. And I've never seen a bald man turn gray.
What she got Ken for Father's Day. TMI? I don't want to know that. I thought you were doing mommy vlogs. What happened to that? Can we go back there? If I was Ken, I would have asked for like golf clubs or like a knife set. I don't know, anything to defend myself in case shit gets crazy. Thank her dad for being an absentee father while she was growing up. It's also her baby daddy's first Father's Day, but he didn't get any love. She also took today to shade people that are talking about her. Happy Father's Day, Ken Urker, since Gypsy doesn't want to say it publicly.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard just handed the internet another painfully awkward moment, and this time it came wrapped in lace and forced intimacy. Her idea of a Father's Day gift for her husband Ken left everyone watching with secondhand embarrassment. It wasn't the actual gift that made people uncomfortable, it was the tone of the whole scene. What could have been a sweet, private exchange turned into a strange, overly performative moment that felt more like a desperate cry for attention than a genuine romantic gesture. The video shows Gypsy in the bedroom, dressed in what looks like lingerie, trying to set the mood by lip-syncing to Only Thing by Lola Young. She made dramatic gestures and slow movements, clearly thinking she was creating a seductive, heartfelt moment. But the energy in the room told a different story. Ken sat on the bed, almost entirely under a blanket, clutching the TV remote with one hand while the other stayed far away from her. His fist was clenched, his eyes glued to the screen in front of him, and he barely made eye contact with her. The few glances he did give were brief and forced, accompanied by a tight smile that looked more like an attempt to be polite than anything romantic. He looked emotionally checked out, as if he was watching something happen to him instead of being a part of it. And yet, Gypsy chose to record it. Worse, she posted it publicly. What should have stayed between two people was instead shared online, packaged as a sweet moment when it really felt cold and one-sided. Ken didn't need to say a word, his body language spoke volumes. It was the look of someone enduring something, not enjoying it. Gypsy, on the other hand, seemed fully convinced she was crafting a picture-perfect scene. But instead of chemistry, the whole thing gave off a vibe of imbalance, one person trying far too hard, the other completely detached. This isn't new. Ken has made it clear before that he doesn't want their personal life on display. During season 2 of their show, he was visibly upset when Gypsy talked openly about their intimacy. That wasn't just a moment of drama for TV, it was him asking for boundaries, asking for privacy. But here we are again. Another personal moment dragged into the spotlight because Gypsy can't seem to stop turning real life into content. The saddest part is how visible the toll is on Ken. People have started to point out that he doesn't even look like himself anymore.
What she got Ken for Father's Day. TMI? I don't want to know that. I thought you were doing mommy vlogs. What happened to that? Can we go back there?
I'm sorry, y'all. I just find this so cringy. I feel like she's always trying to show us how she tries to seduce him, and it just, look at his face. He looks so uncomfortable. It's obvious Gypsy loves the camera, she loves the attention, whether it's good or bad. But Ken, I think maybe the money just is what's keeping him on camera. And I've never seen a bald man turn gray.
You never know what she's gonna post next, I swear. Because let me tell you, I was not prepared when I opened the app today. I was not prepared. So this is Ken's Father's Day gift. Her lip syncing a trending song on TikTok in this getup, and then she threw rose petals at his head. Would you look at that man's face? Okay. He is not interested in all that. He is not interested in whatever this situation is. Okay. He wants to be watching his RuPaul Drag Race in peace. Let him have that. Let the man have just a little bit of peace. Okay, Gypsy? I'm sorry, every time I look at his face, I lose it. It's just so funny how disinterested he is.
He's only 32, but viewers are saying he looks much older, his hairline receding, dark circles under his eyes, and that spark that was once in him now barely flickering. It's like the non-stop emotional roller coaster. The constant pressure to perform for Gypsy's brand is aging him in fast forward. And still, he stays. Maybe it's love, maybe loyalty, but some people can't help but wonder if it's also the money. Being attached to Gypsy means attention, opportunities, and some level of financial gain. But it also seems to come at the cost of peace. What really raised eyebrows, though, was how fast Gypsy disabled comments on the video. It was like she knew what kind of reaction she'd get. Instead of letting people share their thoughts, she left only a handful of glowing, hand-picked responses, ones that praised her, ones that fit the story she wanted to tell. It wasn't about sharing a real moment, it was about controlling the message. Gypsy didn't want feedback, she wanted applause. As if the awkward Father's Day video for Ken wasn't already enough to stir up a storm, Gypsy Rose Blanchard decided to keep the drama rolling, with an emotional public letter to her father, Rod Blanchard. In the post, she poured her heart out about their strained past, claiming that now, at 33, she finally feels like she has a real father again. On the surface, it sounded heartfelt, until she added a line that made people pause: "Life has a beautiful way of writing second chapters." That's where many felt the tone turned from emotional to unsettling. Because let's be honest, Gypsy's first chapter didn't just fade away quietly. It ended in a brutal crime. Her mother, Dee Blanchard, was found stabbed to death. A murder Gypsy played a direct role in orchestrating. So calling what came after a beautiful second chapter felt less like healing and more like sugarcoating a horror story. It was jarring, even chilling, the way she seemed to gloss over the violence that marked that transition. She's not just rewriting her narrative, she's romanticizing a tragedy that tore lives apart. Gypsy didn't stop there. She followed the post with a heavily stylized photo shoot, channeling the Disney character Rapunzel. With freshly chopped brown hair, a correction after her failed bleach job, she posed with captions that made clear comparisons between herself and the animated princess. Rapunzel, who was kidnapped as a baby and imprisoned in a tower by a woman pretending to be her mother, eventually escapes and reunites with her real family. Gypsy's captions echoed that arc, a princess who escaped the grip of a controlling woman and found her way back to her rightful life. It was supposed to feel triumphant.
TikTok, where she explains the real reason why she cut her hair short and went back to brunette. Even though it's been a few months of this hairstyle, and she even tried going back to blonde like a week or two ago. And obviously it didn't work because she doesn't know what she's doing and she's not a hairstylist. Anyway, I digress. So the reason is obviously another cosplay. Duh. She's Rapunzel, you guys. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I didn't put the pieces together. She's Rapunzel. So she posts this TikTok, this picture, and then she has this song from Tangled, At Last I See the Light, and there's these different slides of Rapunzel. And she's like, I was held captive by an evil woman, and then I was set free to find my real family and true love, and we lived happily ever after. Like, she just makes things up as she goes along. This randomly came to her head, like this morning or whatever. Whenever she posted the TikTok, she said, I have an idea. Cosplay time.
But for many, it felt twisted. Because the truth is, Gypsy wasn't taken from anyone. Dee was her biological mother. She raised her, fed her, bathed her, clothed her, even if under a web of lies and abuse. Dee absolutely manipulated and harmed her, but she was still her parent. What happened wasn't some magical escape. It was a murder that Gypsy planned in cold blood with Nicholas Gojon, a man she seduced and convinced to carry out the act. There was no enchanted tower. There were manipulated text messages, a knife, and a trail of deception that led to a real woman's death. So when Gypsy presents herself as Rapunzel, it's not just inaccurate, it's deeply problematic. She's reshaping a brutal story into something cinematic, something sympathetic, something that places her at the center as the helpless, misunderstood girl who finally found freedom. But in doing that, she's stripping away the weight of what really happened. She's crafting a fantasy to avoid accountability. And it's not the first time she's done it. What's even more troubling is how Rod Blanchard is now being framed as the hero of her story. Gypsy's letter painted him in glowing terms: a reconnected father, a supportive presence, a source of comfort. But let's not forget the facts. Rod knew about Gypsy's supposed medical issues. DD kept him in the loop. And still, he stayed distant. He started another family, sent occasional child support, but largely remained absent during the years Gypsy needed someone to step in. And yet now, he's being embraced publicly while DD, despite all her abuse and mental illness, is cast as the sole villain. It's a jarring double standard. Gypsy offers Rod redemption and grace, while completely writing DD out of the picture as if her life, and the complexity of her actions, no longer deserve space in the story. There's no acknowledgement that Rod could have done more. No recognition that maybe his absence contributed to the helplessness Gypsy once felt. Instead, she's chosen to uplift him while continuing to shame the woman who, for better or worse, was there every single day of her life. What this really shows is how selective Gypsy is in her forgiveness, and how much control she wants over the narrative. Rod fits the version of the story she wants to tell now: a picture-perfect family moment, a loving father figure to her new child, and a clean-cut second chance. DD, on the other hand, doesn't fit into that fairy tale. So instead of processing the pain and contradiction of that relationship, Gypsy deletes it, literally and symbolically. This isn't the first time she's leaned into Disney-style trauma branding either. From her daughter's name, Aurora, to her constant references to animated princesses, Gypsy seems determined to frame her life like a fantasy film. But real life isn't a cartoon. There are no magic spells to undo the past. Just consequences, grieving families, and hard, messy truths. Every time she puts on that crown, figuratively or literally, it feels less like self-empowerment and more like a costume to hide behind. She dresses up. She stages moments. She tells stories that sound like fairy tales, but the truth behind them is anything but magical.
And just like put this up here because I feel like if I put it up here, you guys will see it in its entirety and realize that this is the real mean girl in this situation. Now, if you guys didn't see it, I just saw it this morning when I was just scrolling my FYP. Gypsy did a post and she basically tagged Bree, her friend Bree, that sits online and bullies people endlessly for endless amount of hours, has doxed people, has called people's workplace, done all of this. And this is part of the reason that people do all they do. Okay, so understand that. Tagged her and said, "This one's for you." And this is a song where like best friends or like people that are close actually do a dance to, right? And instead of waiting until, you know, her party next week for her parole, she's like, "This one's for you because I want to do it by myself." Because you don't ever want to show below your shoulders because you're not confident in yourself enough. That's just my opinion, but hey. Anyways, I want to put this in perspective for you because remember that anti-bully whole video, that 30-minute video that she did over on YT? Yeah, so that's her best friend. So in real life, if you're associated with somebody that's like a bully or that is sitting here bullying other people, what do you think of the person that associates with that person? Just wondering, because what I think is birds of a feather always flock together. And so that should tell you enough about that you need to know. And that should tell you that this woman is not a cyberbullying advocate or an anti-bullying advocate in any way, shape, or form. Her best friend that she clearly tagged in her recent post sits on a panel, and you guys can look this up. Look up Bree with the facts, and you'll see numerous recordings of her sitting up on live for hours on end, making cartoon characters of people that she dislikes because they speak facts about Gypsy. And some people, I don't know, just to play devil's advocate here, some people may say that that's a really good friend. No. She's doing what Gypsy can't do because of her image. She's doing what Nick did because Gypsy couldn't take the blame for it. She is the new Nick. And if any of you guys think that who you associate with does not basically put the same image on you, y'all can get the fuck out of here, because yes, it fucking does. Who you talk to, who you hang out with, who you're with when you're out or whatever, doing whatever with, and we know these two talk on a constant basis, you can't tell me you're not exactly like them. So before anybody looks at that cyberbullying, I want them to know, including media outlets, TMZ, People Magazine, that Gypsy is over here saying anti-bully, but her best friend is a literal bully. You can't justify that bully for saying, "Oh, she's my best friend and I'm
Gypsy Rose Blanchard continues to blur the line between reality and performance, painting herself as the heroine of a story that, in real life, involved manipulation, deceit, and a deeply disturbing crime. She may have changed her clothes, her hair, her online aesthetic, but the behavior? That hasn't changed. What we're watching now isn't growth, it's just the same script with a new costume. Lately, Gypsy's leaned even harder into this fantasy version of her life. She talks about overcoming trauma, finding love, being a new mother. But then she turns around and contradicts herself. A few weeks ago, she posted a serious video about cyberbullying, saying it causes real pain and shouldn't be dismissed as just internet drama. Then, almost immediately after, she shared a lighthearted dancing video tagging her best friend Bree, the same Bree who's become known online for mocking, doxing, and relentlessly going after people who criticize Gypsy. This is the same person who's attacked others in Gypsy's name, all while Gypsy stands beside her, smiling and supportive. And when the backlash started, Gypsy tried to distance herself, saying, "I never did any of that. What my friends do is on them." But here's the problem: you can't claim you stand for kindness and mental health, then publicly align yourself with someone actively bullying others. That's not drawing a boundary, that's pretending one exists while still standing on the wrong side of it. You don't get to wash your hands clean while dedicating videos to the very person you say doesn't reflect your values. It's a pattern we've seen before. Gypsy shifts between personas: the sweet victim, the misunderstood woman, the strong advocate, the playful influencer. But underneath each role, the same need for control, validation, and narrative shaping remains. Sometimes she leans into provocative looks. Sometimes it's princess cosplay. Other times, it's polished speeches about mental health and growth. But the inconsistencies in her behavior always speak louder than the image she's trying to sell. She says she's evolved, but the contradictions keep piling up. The tone-deaf posts. The defensive responses. The selective accountability. Her instinct is still to silence critics by calling them haters, rather than actually listening. But what people are really asking for isn't hate, it's honesty. It's maturity. It's a break from the never-ending performance. Now, with a baby, a marriage, and a public platform bigger than ever, the stakes are even higher. And yet, it feels like Gypsy is still more focused on image than introspection. The way she filters reality, whether through captions, curated posts, or who she chooses to praise, makes it clear she's still playing a role. So is this transformation real? Or are we just watching another act? The aesthetics have changed. The storylines are different. But the way she navigates attention, public perception, and truth feels exactly the same. At the end of the day, people don't want to tear her down. They want her to rise for real. To stop relying on glitter and scripted narratives. To stop turning personal growth into a brand strategy. Because true healing doesn't need filters. And real change doesn't come from applause, it comes from facing the truth, even when no one's watching. So, what are we really seeing here? Is Gypsy becoming someone new, or just changing outfits while playing the same old role?